The world had changed. Giant cities floated in the sky for the rich, shining like stars. On the ground, people like Tom lived in broken towns, forgotten by progress. Factories were closed. Hospitals had no medicine. Even the sun felt weaker in the thick, dirty air. Tom coughed as he stepped outside his small home. The doctor had told him 3 months ago, "Your condition is terminal. We cannot cure it." The words kept ringing in his ears. There was no treatment. No future. He had only a few months left. Still, he woke up every day to care for his younger sister Mira, who was only 16. She didn't know how sick Tom was. He didn't tell her. He didn't want to make her cry. He worked part-time fixing broken machines in a junkyard. The pay was little, but it bought food and medicine for Myra. Tom had no dream for himself. His only dream was to leave something behind for his sister. One morning, a strange envelope arrived. The paper was smooth and shiny, something rare in their poor town. His name was written on it in gold letters. He opened it slowly. "You are invited to participate in a private challenge hosted by Mr. Vale. The prize is $25 million. Transportation and care will be provided. Say yes and change your life." There was no sender address, no details. Just a time and place to be picked up. Tom read it again. It looked like a joke. No one in this town got invited to anything, especially not by someone like Mr. Vale, the billionaire who lived on a floating island. Mira saw the letter and asked, "Is it real?" "I don't know," Tom replied, trying to smile. She looked at him with hope. "Maybe it's a chance." Tom nodded slowly. "Maybe." At the given time, a black aircar landed just outside town. People gathered to watch. No one had ever seen such a clean, shiny vehicle up close. 2 men in silver suits stepped out and asked for Tom. He looked back at Mira. She hugged him tight. "Come back, please." "I will," he said, even though he didn't know if that was true. The aircar flew across cities, oceans, and finally over endless water. In the middle of the sea was an island, green, beautiful, and full of strange machines and lights. A giant tower stood in the center like a silver tree reaching the sky. Tom was taken inside a large dome where he met others like him, 6 more. People, all poor, all sick. They looked tired, scared, confused. Some were old, some young, but all had the same expression. No more chances left. A voice echoed through the dome. It was calm, deep, and cold. "Welcome, guests. I am Mr. Vale." Tom looked up. A giant hologram of a man in a black suit appeared above them. His face was sharp, eyes like glass, no emotion. "You have all been chosen for your unique position," Vale said. "You are dying. You have nothing to lose. But I offer you something very few get: a final chance to change your fate." The others looked at each other. Some looked angry, some confused. "This is not a game of violence," Vale continued. "You will face trials, mental, physical, and emotional. They are hard but fair. The last person standing wins $25 million. A man in the back raised his hand. "What if we don't want to play?" "You are free to leave," Vale said. "But once you leave, you cannot return." No one moved. Tom stood quietly. His hands trembled. He didn't know what to think. The offer was real, but what was the cost? Later that evening, Tom sat alone in a glass room with a view of the ocean. Food had been served, real food, not synthetic powder. He had a soft bed, clean clothes, even medicine. But he couldn't sleep. He looked at a small screen on the table. It showed Mira, live from their home, doing homework by candlelight. She didn't know he could see her. She looked tired but focused. Brave, just like their mother used to be. Tom felt a tear slip from his eye. A quiet beep sounded. A small robot entered the room and spoke gently. "The first trial begins tomorrow. Rest well." Tom nodded. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in a long time, he had a purpose. He wasn't fighting to live for himself. He was fighting for Mira, for her future, for her safety. Even if he was dying, he would leave a mark. Tom woke up early. The room was still dark, but his mind was full of thoughts. He hadn't slept much. The sea outside was calm. The soft waves made a light sound against the glass wall. He sat up slowly and touched the small screen on the table. His sister Mira's live video was gone. The screen only showed a countdown timer now. Trial begins in 2 hours. Tom took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast. He looked around the room once more. Everything was clean, cold, and silent. Too perfect. Like a hospital with no soul. A soft chime rang, and the door opened. A robot with a smiling screen rolled in. "Good morning, Tom," it said. "Please follow me to the main hall." Tom nodded and followed quietly. His legs felt weak, not because of fear, but from his illness. He pushed through it. He wasn't going to give up, not yet. The main hall was a giant glass dome. It looked like the inside of a crystal ball. Bright blue sky. Above, green trees in the corners. 7 chairs in a half circle facing a large screen. Tom took a seat. The others arrived one by one. Some looked nervous. Others looked angry or tired. Tom watched them silently. Lena, a woman in her 30s, had sharp eyes and stood with arms crossed. She looked like someone who had fought her whole life. Ray, an older man with gray hair, walked slowly but held his head high. Nico, a quiet boy around 20, looked scared and didn't speak. Yuna, a strong-looking woman with short hair, wore a brave face but kept looking down at her hands. Haru, a thin man with glasses, kept coughing and looked pale like Tom. Tomi, a cheerful girl with bright eyes, smiled at everyone as if it were a school trip. Not a challenge. They were all different, but they shared one thing. They were all dying, just like Tom. A soft hum filled the room. The screen came to life. Mr. Vale's face appeared again, calm and serious. "Good morning, participants," he said. "Welcome to the beginning of the gauntlet." No one spoke. Everyone listened. "You are not prisoners. You may leave at any time. But if you stay, you must follow the rules." A list appeared on the screen. No harming others. No cheating. No quitting after a trial begins. The last one remaining wins the reward. "You will face 7 trials," Mr. Vale continued. "Each will test a part of your humanity. Your mind, your choices, your spirit." The room stayed silent. Then Vale said something that made everyone look up. "Cameras are watching. The world is watching. People from every floating city and ground district are watching this live. This is more than a game. It is a mirror to the world." Tom felt his chest tighten. He didn't know people were watching. Was Mira watching too? The first trial didn't start immediately. They were given time to rest, eat, and explore. A guide. Robots showed them around the island. There were gardens, water paths, and rooms with books and games. It felt like a strange vacation. But no one was smiling. Tom walked with Nico for a while. The boy looked afraid. "You okay?" Tom asked gently. Nico nodded. "I guess. I don't know why I came." Tom looked at the sky. "Sometimes we don't choose the path. We just walk." Nico looked at him. "Are you scared?" Tom smiled a little. "Yes, but I'm more scared of doing nothing." Later, all participants were taken to the challenge arena, a large open area shaped like a stadium, surrounded by trees and screens. The robot host announced, "This is where all trials will happen. You will return here before each test." Lena raised her hand. "What kind of trials are we talking about?" "Non-violent," the robot replied. "But challenging in every way." Tomi looked excited. "Like puzzles or teamwork?" The robot didn't answer. Tom looked around. The place was beautiful but full of hidden machines. It was clear this was no normal game. That night, Tom sat alone near a small pond on the island. He watched the water quietly. Suddenly, Lena sat beside him. You're the quiet one. She said. Tom nodded. I prefer to watch. She looked at him. What are you really here for? He thought for a moment. My sister. She's young. I want her to have a life. Lena's face softened. I have a brother too. Haven't seen him in years. Tom didn't ask why. Some things were private. We're all here for someone, Lena said. Or something. Just don't trust this place too much. Tom nodded. He already didn single quotes T. At midnight, a final message was sent to their rooms. First trial begins at dawn. Please report to the arena at sunrise. Rest well, think clearly. This is your chance to be more than just a name on a list. Tom stared at the message. He opened the drawer beside his bed. Inside was a tablet showing Mira's room again. She was sleeping, a small light beside her. Her hand rested on an old photo of them together. Tom touched the screen gently. I'm still here, he whispered. Then he turned off the light and prepared himself. Tomorrow, the game would begin. And Tom had only one goal, not to win for himself, but to prove that kindness and courage still had power. The sun rose over the island like a golden eye. Soft orange light touched the trees, the water, and the smooth glass buildings. But inside the challenge arena, the air felt colder than before. Tom stood silently, watching the other 6 participants gather one by one. Everyone wore the same light uniform now, gray with a white symbol on the chest, 3 circles forming a triangle. The mark of Mr. Vale's game. Tom looked at each person. Lena, alert and serious as always. Ray, the oldest, quiet but calm. Nico, nervous, hands shaking. Yuna, her face still but her eyes sharp. Haru, coughing slightly but standing tall. Tomi, still smiling, though her smile was smaller than yesterday. The robot host rolled to the center of the arena. Good morning, participants. Welcome to your first trial. A large screen appeared in the sky above them, showing Mr. Vale's face again. His voice was smooth as always. This first challenge, he said, is called the Maze of Shifting Walls. The ground began to move. Panels opened. A large structure rose slowly from the earth walls made of smooth white metal, tall and silent. A maze. But not just any maze, its walls shimmered with energy. Some of them moved quietly, shifting positions. Vale continued. You must reach the center of the maze within 2 hours. There are no traps, no enemies. Only time and the maze itself. Tomi raised her hand. What happens if we don't reach the center? You will be disqualified, Vale said simply. You will return home safely, but your chance to win ends here. No one said a word. The meaning was clear. Fail, and your journey ends on the very first trial. A door opened on each side of the maze. One for each participant. Your time starts when you step inside. Good luck. The screen vanished. The robot rolled back. Tom stepped toward his door. He looked once more at the sky. Stay with me, Mira, he whispered. Then he walked in. The maze was silent. The walls were tall, higher than 2 men. The air inside was cool, and the floor was soft underfoot, like rubber. Tom took his first step slowly. He touched one wall. It was smooth like glass but buzzed lightly. He moved forward. Every few minutes, he came to a dead end. He would turn, only to find the wall behind him had moved. The maze was alive. He stopped and listened. He could hear distant footsteps, maybe Nico or Haru, but the maze blocked all direct sound. There was no map, no signs, only choices. Tom didn't panic. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He started watching the walls. After a while, he noticed something. The moving walls gave off a slight hum before they shifted. He began walking only when the hum was gone. Time passed. He found a small, open area with a bench and a water bottle, a rest spot. But he didn't sit, not yet. He kept moving, slowly marking turns in his memory. Left, right, straight. It was like a puzzle. Elsewhere, Lena moved quickly. She ran down hallways, trying different paths. She was fast, but the walls kept changing. Every dead end made her more frustrated. Tommy stopped to laugh once when a wall moved right in front of her. "This place is tricky," she said to herself. Ray walked carefully, using a small metal stick to tap walls before he turned. Una stayed silent. She used a string from her uniform to mark corners. Haru leaned on the wall more than once, coughing hard. He looked tired already. And Nico. Poor Nico was panicking. He had entered the maze with fear, and it only grew. Every wall that moved, every turn that ended in nothing, it made him feel smaller. He sat down near a wall and covered his face. "I can't do this," he whispered. Tom was now near the center. He could feel it. The walls here were older looking, with lines of light flowing through them. He passed by a screen that showed a red timer, 38 minutes remaining. Then he heard something, a cry. He paused. The cry came again. Faint, scared. He followed the sound. Turning a corner, he found Nico sitting on the ground, his back against the wall, tears in his eyes. Tom knelt beside him. "You okay?" he asked gently. "I'm lost," Nico said. I'm not smart like the others. I don't want to fail. I don't want to go back." Tom looked around. "Come with me. I think I've found the pattern." Nico shook his head. "I'll just slow you down," Tom smiled. "You're not alone. Come on. We'll go together." It took some time, but finally Nico stood up. Tom and Nico moved through the maze, slowly but with more confidence now. Tom explained the wall sounds, the pauses, the direction markers. Nico listened. He stopped crying. When they reached the next open area, Tom let him rest for a moment. Then they moved again. Finally, they reached a large door glowing with a soft blue light. On it were the words, "Center reached." Tom touched the panel. It opened. They stepped into a round room filled with sunlight. Grass grew here. A small tree stood in the middle. A soft breeze moved the leaves. A voice spoke. "Well done. You may rest here until the trial ends." Tom looked around. Lena was already there. She raised an eyebrow seeing Tom and Nico together. Tommy arrived 5 minutes later, followed by Una, then Ray. Haru was the last. He collapsed inside, breathing hard. As the clock hit 0, a chime rang. Mr. Vale's voice returned. 6 of you reached the center. You have passed." The screen showed all their faces, except Nico's. Tom's heart stopped. "Nico," Vale said, "you were guided. You did not complete the trial by yourself. You are disqualified." Nico's face went pale. But, Tom stepped forward. He tried. He was lost. "I just helped." "Help is not part of the rules," Vale said. "But kindness is noted." There was silence. Then the robot entered the room. "Nico, please come with us. You will be returned home with full care." Nico looked at Tom, then nodded slowly. "Thank you," he whispered. Tom patted his shoulder. "Keep going, live well." And Nico left. The others sat quietly after that. No one spoke for a while. Then Tommy said softly, "It's not just a game. He's watching who we are." Tom nodded. This wasn't about strength or speed. It was about character, and the real test had only just begun. The next morning, a soft blue light glowed in Tom's room. The screen beside his bed flashed. "Trial 2 begins in 30 minutes. Location, Chamber of Reflection." Tom rubbed his eyes and sat up. His body ached from the long maze walk, and his cough had returned. Still, his mind was sharp. He remembered everything from the last trial, especially Nico. Nico had gone home. Not because he gave up, but because the rules didn't allow help. It still bothered Tom. He got ready and stepped out of his room. The hallway was silent. Outside the windows, soft clouds floated over the sea. The island felt peaceful, but the peace was only on the surface. Inside the hearts of the remaining 6, There was only one feeling: pressure. They all gathered near. The chamber entrance. Lena stood alone, arms crossed as usual. Ray leaned on the wall, eyes closed in thought. Tommy smiled weakly at Tom but said nothing. Yuna adjusted her uniform, serious as always. Haru looked tired, one hand holding his side. Tom looked around. He noticed something different. No one looked at each other now. After the first trial, trust had changed. No one wanted to be the next one sent home. The robot host appeared. "Welcome to the second trial," it said. "Please follow me." They walked into a round silver room with 6 chairs, placed in a circle. In the center was a glowing table with 6 small black boxes. A screen above lit up with Mr. Vale's face. "Welcome to the Chamber of Reflection," he said. "This trial is not about speed. It is not about strength. It is about choices." Everyone stayed silent. In front of you are 6 boxes. Inside each one is a unique situation, a personal test. The boxes slowly slid toward each participant. You will enter the simulation alone. What you choose inside will decide if you move forward. There's no right or wrong, only your decision. Ray raised an eyebrow. "So, this is a mind game?" Vale nodded. "Yes, but remember, the world is watching. And so am I." The screen went dark. One by one, the participants entered a side chamber to take the test. Tom was the third. He stepped into a small white room and sat in the chair. The black box was placed in front of him. A screen lowered from above. A voice said, "Simulation will begin. Close your eyes." Tom took a deep breath. Darkness. Then dashlight. He was standing in a hospital room. But it wasn't fake. It was real. The air smelled of medicine. Machines beeped softly. On the bed, Mira lay unconscious. A doctor stood beside Tom. "Your sister needs an organ transplant. There is one donor available, but there's a problem." Tom felt panic rise. "What problem?" The doctor looked him in the eyes. "The donor is a child from another family. Their parents don't know the full truth. If we act fast, we can save Myra. But we must take the organ now." Tom shook his head. "And what happens to the other child?" The doctor stayed silent. Then a second option appeared on a screen beside the bed. Option 1. Save Myra, but take the organ without permission. Option 2. Tell the truth, and possibly lose the chance. Tom stared at the screen. His heart broke. He wanted Myra to live more than anything in the world. She was all he had left. But how could he take another child's life? He looked at Myra, so small, so helpless. Then he looked at the doctor. "No," Tom said softly. "She wouldn't want this. I won't take someone else's life for her." The screen blinked. Choice registered. Simulation ending. Tom opened his eyes. The white room was quiet again. He stood slowly and walked back to the main hall. Lena was already there, sitting with arms crossed. She gave him a small nod. Not friendly but respectful. One by one, the others returned. Their faces told silent stories. Yuna looked angry. Ray looked thoughtful. Haru's hands were shaking. Tommy had red eyes. No one spoke. Then the robot returned. Trial complete. Results will now be shared. Mr. Vale's face returned on the screen. "Each of you was given a moral test," he said. "It was not about winning. It was about revealing your heart." He paused. Then he said slowly, 5 of you made a selfless choice. 1 of you did not." The screen flashed red over one face. Haru. He looked down. "You chose yourself over others in every path," Vale said. "You did not break rules, but you showed who you are." The robot moved toward Haru. "Please come with us." Tom stood almost to speak, but Haru raised a hand. "It's fine," he said. "I thought maybe winning was the only thing that mattered." He looked at Tom and whispered, "Maybe I was wrong." Then he walked away. Now only 5 remained. The lights dimmed. The screen faded. The robot spoke again. There will be a short break. Food and rest are available. Next trial begins tomorrow. Everyone left slowly. Tom sat alone in the garden after dinner. A warm light shone from the sky panels above. Fake. Stars, but still beautiful. Tommy walked over and sat beside him. I saw Myra in my test, Tom said. Tommy nodded. I saw my little brother. They sat quietly for a while. Tommy spoke again. I think he's not testing who's the strongest. He's testing who's still human. Tom looked at her. Then why offer money? She shrugged. Maybe to make the world care. Later that night, Tom opened his private screen. Mira was there again, asleep. He touched the glass gently. He didn't know how many trials were left. But he knew this much. He wouldn't lie. He wouldn't cheat. He wouldn't stop. Not for the money. Not for the game. But for her. And for the part of the world that had forgotten how to care. The sky above the island had turned gray. Clouds, artificial ones, gathered over the trial arena as if the island itself knew what was coming. This was not going to be an easy day. The next challenge wasn't about logic or choice. It was about survival. Tom stood at the edge of the platform near the arena's dome. The robot guide stood in front of the 5 remaining contestants. Today's trial is called the Dome of Endurance, it said, its voice calm as always. You will be placed in an artificial desert. You must survive for 6 hours with limited resources. There is no shelter, no rest, no shortcuts. If you leave the marked zone or call for exit, you will be disqualified. A large screen above showed a countdown. Trial begins. 10 minutes. Tom looked around at the others. Lena, serious and quiet. Her eyes didn't blink as she watched the shifting desert behind the glass. Ray, the oldest, breathed slowly, already saving his energy. Una, her jaw tight. Strong, but not relaxed. Tommy, trying to smile, but her hands trembled slightly. And Tom himself, he was coughing again. His lungs burned from the dry air, and he had barely slept last night. But he was still here. Not for the money, not for pride, but for something deeper. His promise to Mira. The dome opened. A wave of heat rolled over them. Hot, dry wind blew sand into the air. A large circle of land stretched out before them, flat, empty, and endless. Each participant was given 1 bottle of water, 1 emergency flag to quit the trial, 1 tracker showing the time remaining. There was no communication between them. They had to stay within the circle, but they could walk, sit, or move however they wanted. The robot's voice echoed again. You may now enter. The timer has started. Tom stepped into the heat. The sand crunched beneath his feet. His shoes sank slightly with every step. The wind was sharp and dry. The sun above wasn't real, but it felt real, burning hot and painful. He covered his head with the hood of his uniform. His first thought was simple. Don't waste energy. He saw Lena moving toward a large rock. She climbed it to get a better view. Ray walked straight ahead, slow and steady. Tommy sat down under a small metal pole, casting a shadow. She was already breathing hard. Una was pacing, not standing still for even a second. And Tom, he chose to walk in a slow circle, just to keep his body moving, not resting too early. After 1 hour, the wind grew stronger. The heat became heavier. The bottle of water in Tom's hand felt like a treasure. He took 1 small sip, nothing more. 6 hours, he whispered to himself. I've been through worse. But in truth, his body was getting weaker. The illness inside him was not sleeping. It was awake, fighting him every second. Still he walked. He kept Myra's face in his mind, her smile, her voice. The nights they spent talking under candlelight. The small cake she had made for his last birthday using only rice and jam. I won't fail you, he said under his breath. At hour 2, Ray collapsed. He sat down in the sand, leaning against a small rock. He raised his emergency flag. The buzzer rang. Medical drone flew down and picked him up gently. The screen flashed. Ray, disqualified. Tom lowered his head for a second. Ray had tried, but his body couldn't take the heat. Now only 4 were left. By hour 3, Tom's hands were shaking. His cough had returned. Every breath felt like glass. He saw Una in the distance. She had wrapped her arms with cloth, walking slowly in circles. Smart, but even she was stumbling now. Tommy was lying flat on the ground, face covered, trying to rest without giving up. Lena had stopped moving. She stood tall near the center, eyes closed, body still. Like a statue refusing to fall. Tom fell to his knees for a moment. His vision blurred. He wanted to drink the rest of his water, but he forced himself to wait. He pressed both hands into the sand and whispered, "Mira, talk to me." He imagined her voice in his ear. "Keep going by. Just a little more." He stood back up. At R4, a sandstorm hit. Huge winds blew across the dome, picking up sand and throwing it into the air. The sun disappeared. The heat changed too. Sharp, cutting gusts. Breathing became harder. Tom covered his face with his shirt. He could barely see. He dropped to the ground and crawled toward a metal pole nearby. He held onto it and covered his body, using it as a shield. He couldn't see the others anymore. The robot's voice echoed through the storm. "Extreme weather event. This is part of the trial. You may use the flag if needed." Tom didn't move. He held on, whispering Mira's name again and again like a prayer. The storm passed after half an hour. Tom stood up barely. His face was cut by sand, his lips dry. His water bottle empty now. He saw Una lying face down in the sand, not moving. A drone flew over her. The flag in her hand lit up. Juna, disqualified. Now only 3 remained, Tom, Lena, and Tommy. Hour 5. Tommy stumbled toward the edge of the circle. She was crying. Her hand trembled as she reached for the flag. Then she saw Tom barely standing but still walking. One step at a time. She paused. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at the sky. Then she shook her head and stepped back. She did not raise the flag. Tom saw this and nodded weakly. Tommy nodded back. They both kept moving. Final hour. The countdown reached. 10 minutes. Tom's legs were barely working. His back hurt. His lungs were on fire. His vision blurred again and again. Then he saw Lena collapse. She fell forward in the sand, trying to crawl. Her hand reached for the flag, but she didn't lift it. She pushed it away and tried to stand. Tom moved toward her, slowly. Every step hurt. He reached her side. "Get up," he said. "We finished together." She looked at him with disbelief. "You're helping me?" He nodded. "Why?" "Because we're not enemies," he whispered. "We're just trying to live." When the timer hit 0, all 3, Tom, Lena, and Tommy, were still standing. The storm had ended. The screen flashed, "Trial complete. No disqualifications." Mr. Vale's voice came again. "For the first time in the history of my challenge, no one failed the endurance trial." He paused, and more importantly, someone helped a competitor. Again, everyone looked at Tom. Vale sighed. "You may think this is weakness, but to me, this is strength." The morning after the endurance trial was quiet. For the first time since the deadly game had started, the contestants woke up to soft music playing across the island. The sharp alarms were gone. The cameras were still watching, but they seemed calmer. Tom sat at the edge of his bed, still coughing lightly. His body ached all over. His muscles felt torn. But he was alive. More than alive. He had survived 5 rounds of Mr. Vale's twisted contest. He had water now. He had food. And more importantly, he had a few more hours of peace before the next stage. Tommy entered the dining hall first, followed by Lena. They both looked surprised when they saw each other. "No one lost yesterday," Tommy said with a small smile. Lena nodded. That was unexpected. Tom entered last. Tommy waved at him. Lena gave him a nod. They didn't say much, but there was a strange kind of respect, now silent, but real. All three had been enemies. Now they were survivors. Suddenly, the room went dark. The screen lit up again. The billionaire Mr. Vale appeared. He wasn't smiling like before. He looked serious. "Good morning," he said. "Congratulations on making it to the final three." No one clapped. No one smiled back. Mr. Vale continued. "Usually by this time, we only have two left. But rules change when people change them." He stared directly into the camera. "Tom," he said, "you were supposed to die in the second round. Yet here you are." Tom didn't answer. Mr. Vale leaned forward. "And that makes me curious." The screen changed. A video started playing. It showed Tom's old life, his one-room home, Mira bringing him soup, Tom fixing broken shoes for a few coins, coughing under candlelight. Tommy covered her mouth in shock. Lena narrowed her eyes. Mr. Vale's voice returned. Tom never had a chance of life. Sick, poor, forgotten. Then the video cut to the island. Tom saving people, helping in every trial, giving away his chances. And yet, Mr. Vale said, he made it farther than anyone expected. The screen changed again. This time, it showed Mira. She was sitting in a clean white room safe, smiling slightly. Her hands were folded in her lap. Tom stood up. "Mira," Mr. Vale spoke. "She's alive, Tom, and healthy. We paid for her treatment. She doesn't know you're here. She thinks you went away for work." Tom's eyes filled with tears. "She's safe because of you, and she will remain safe, depending on your choices today." A robotic voice echoed through the room. "Final trial announcement in 30 minutes. The screen went dark. The room returned to normal, but nothing felt normal. Now, Tom sat alone on the bench near the artificial waterfall. Lena walked up slowly and sat beside him. "You helped me," she said quietly. "Why?" Tom looked at the water, then down at his hands. "Because someone once helped me, when I was nothing." She nodded, then stood up. "You're a strange person, Tom, but maybe that's a good thing." The final trial wasn't in the dome. It was inside a glass tower on the far side of the island. As the three walked toward it, they saw that the tower was glowing with blue light, and inside rows of screens, buttons, and a single large chair. In the middle. The robot guide greeted them. "Welcome to the final stage, the decision room." The doors opened. They entered the tower. Mr. Vale's voice came again, but this time from a speaker inside the room. "There's no game today, no test, no physical challenge." The three looked around, confused. There's only a choice. A screen appeared in front of them. It showed $25 million at the top. Below, it were 3 buttons, each with one name. Tom, Lena, Teo, Mr. Vale explained, "Only one person can win. But you 3 have shown something no one ever has: humanity." He paused. "Here is the rule. If all 3 of you press your own name, no one gets anything. If one person is chosen by the other 2, that person wins all the money." The room went silent. Tom stepped back. "So we must choose someone else, not ourselves." Mr. Vale said, "Yes, you may not vote for yourself. You must trust the others to choose you." Lena shook her head. "This is another trick," Mr. Vale laughed. "It is the final test of trust, not strength." He gave them 10 minutes. Tom sat in the corner. His heart was beating hard. His mind raced. He thought of Myra, of her medicine, of the life she could have. He looked at Lena, tough, proud, but maybe lonely. He looked at Tommy, bright eyes, quiet heart, maybe dreaming of something better. If he chose Myra, would the others choose him? Was he selfish if he hoped for that? But if he chose someone else, and no one chose him, would Myra be safe? His hands shook. The timer beeped. They had to vote, one by one. They walked up to the screen. Tommy went first. She touched a button. The screen blinked. Then Lena, then Tom. The room turned red. A voice said, "Votes received. Processing." Tom held his breath. The screen blinked again. Then it showed the result. "Winner," Tom gasped. Lena smiled slightly. Tommy gave a soft laugh and wiped a tear. Mr. Vale's voice returned. "Lena voted for you. Tommy voted for you. And you, Tom, voted for Tommy." Tom nodded, tears falling. Mr. Vale continued. "You were the only one who didn't believe in yourself, but the others did." The screen changed again. $25 million transferred to Tom's account. Full medical support. Initiated Mira. Safe and seer Lita. Tom collapsed to his knees. He had won, but more importantly, he had been chosen by others, not for strength, not for tricks, but for who he was. The glass tower opened. Sunlight filled the room. Mr. Vale's voice spoke one final time. "You have reminded me what it means to be human." The island was quiet now. The bright screens were turned off. The cameras no longer followed. The machines had stopped moving. Tom stood at the top of the glass tower, looking at the sunrise. The warm light touched his face, and for the first time in years he didn't feel weak. He didn't feel like a dying man. He felt alive. A soft voice broke the silence. "You ready to go?" Tommy asked. Tom turned. She stood with a light bag in her hand, smiling gently. Lena was behind her, arms crossed, watching the sky. Tom nodded. "Yes, it's time." A white ship arrived by air, silent and smooth. It landed on the green pad near the beach. A ramp extended slowly. A man in a clean black uniform stepped out. "Mr. Tom, the helicopter is ready for departure. Your transportation to the medical center has been arranged. Everything is prepared." Tom nodded. "Thank you." He looked at Tommy and Lena. The man added, "Both Miss Tommy and Miss Lena are welcome to join the transport. They've been approved by Mr. Vale himself." "He's impressed," Lena scoffed. "Impressed? He used us like toys." The man didn't respond. Tom looked at them. "Come with me. We all deserve to leave this place." Tommy gave a quick nod. Lena hesitated, then sighed. "Fine, but I don't want to see any rich man's face again." Inside the helicopter, everything felt unreal. Soft leather seats. Cold air from the ceiling. A silent screen in front of Tom, showing his new bank account, $25 million. Tom didn't stare at the number for long. He only stared at the small photo. Next to it, a picture of Mira, smiling in a hospital room, healthy and safe. He leaned back and closed his eyes. He didn't sleep. He simply breathed. For once, it didn't hurt. Hours later, they reached the city. Tall buildings, hover trains, bright lights. Tom hadn't been here in years. He barely recognized the place. Everything looked faster, louder, and cleaner. But his heart was focused on one place, the hospital. The car drove quietly through the busy streets. When they arrived, a nurse greeted him with a wide smile. "Mr. Tom, your sister is waiting. She's been asking about you since morning." Tom's hands shook slightly. He followed her through the hall, past other patients, until they reached a simple room with light blue walls. Inside, Mira sat on a bed, holding a book. When she saw Tom, her book dropped to the floor. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. "Tom, you're okay." Tom held her close, tears in his eyes. "And you? You're healthy." She nodded, still holding onto him. "They gave me treatment. They said someone paid for it all. They wouldn't tell me who." Tom smiled. "It doesn't matter. You're here. That's enough." In the days that followed, everything changed. Tom's body was treated at the best medical center in the city. His illness, once thought untreatable, was finally controlled. His strength returned slowly. The coughing became rare. The pain less. He bought a quiet house in the countryside. A place with trees, clean air, and open sky. Mira joined him there, and for the first time in years, they cooked meals together, walked outside, and laughed. But the world didn't forget. About Tom. One morning, Tom woke up to a knock at his door. It was a young reporter, holding a camera and a small mic. "Mr. Tom, the world has heard about the game. People are talking. Mr. Vale released your story publicly. You're famous now." Tom blinked. "Why would he do that?" The reporter said, "He said people needed to see what humanity still looks like." Tom didn't know how to feel. A few days later, a letter arrived. It was short, typed, clean. "You made me believe in something again. You don't owe me anything, but the world owes you their ears." Vale. Tom folded the paper and set it aside. Instead of hiding, Tom used the fame. He created a fund with part of the prize money. It helped poor families with medical problems. It supported people who couldn't afford hope. It gave them a chance. He named it the Myra Fund, and even though he stayed out of cameras, his work started to shine. Tommy joined the fund. She helped design programs for young students from poor areas. She taught them how to think big and stay kind. Lena became a security consultant, working only with companies that cared about people's rights. She refused any offer that reminded her of the island. But sometimes she called Tom. They talked about simple things like books, food, and the stars. One evening, Tom stood in the garden behind his house. Mira came outside with a blanket and 2 cups of warm tea. "Thinking again?" she asked, smiling. Tom nodded. "About everything. About how fast it all changed." She sat beside him. "You were never poor in heart, Tom. That's why you won. Not because of money, not even because of the game, but because you never stopped believing in good." Tom looked up at the sky. "I almost lost that." "But you didn't," she said. They sat in silence, watching the stars appear one by one, somewhere far away. Mr. Vale watched a screen. He turned it off slowly. For the first time in years, he smiled, a real one, and then he walked outside without any cameras following him. Because sometimes, even the richest man in the world just wants to feel human again.